Hey, welcome in. This is Kyle is Wonderful here with another wrestling review. This time it's NXT UK from June 30th, 2022. And it's been a pretty impactful month of NXT UK action. I'm more of a recent convert to come watching the show. I was finally converted. I mean, I saw stuff here and there like the Walter and Ilya Dragunov stuff and cherry picked other things that I heard here and there. But I've been watching for about a month now and I've really liked all the action. Like I was about to say, I was brought over here because of all the NXT UK. I mean, all the NXT 2.0 talent that's been coming over. So that's what brought me over here. But just in the last month, we've seen New Mustache Mountain lose the tag team titles to Ashton Carter and Oliver Smith, who then unfortunately had to relinquish the titles after Ashton got injured. That happened last week. Between those two things happening, Mustache Mountain imploded when Trent Seven turned heel and attacked Tyler Bate. So we haven't seen Tyler Bate since. That was 2 weeks ago. The big main event tonight is another for the second time in 3 weeks. It'll be Trent Seven addressing his actions. Um, Last time, well, it wasn't really addressing his actions; it was addressing his future, and then that's when the turn happened. So, in addition to all that, we've seen all kinds of NXT 2.0 people coming over, such as Lash Legend, Saray, and last week there was a four-way tag team title match for the vacant titles because of that injury. And the one team I thought in that match that couldn't possibly win is the people that won, and it was Josh Briggs and Brooks Jensen. So um, that's where we start off tonight's episode with a recap of Ashton Carter and Oliver Smith. First, we see them winning the titles. Then we see the sad relinquishing last week, as well as we also got to see the four-way match. It was elimination style, and Briggs and Jensen of all people won. So, if you did not see on NXT 2.0 this Tuesday, Briggs and Jensen had a little celebration promo in the ring celebrating their titles. Then Pretty Deadly came out, and they were really mad about these like American Hicks tainting the title that they used to hold. So it looks like it's going to be a pretty deadly getting an NXT UK title shot coming up, probably on NXT 2.0 at some point. So pretty cool that it's on the belts on excursion with all the excursions the 2.0 guys have been making. And if you're a UK fan, we are going to get the debut of Jordan Devlin really soon in NXT 2.0 under his new name, JD McDonough, of all things. Not McDonald and not Madonna, but McDonough. All right, and the crowd's really hyped for tonight's action when we start out. And like I said, Trent Seven will address the crowd later. And first out is Blair Davenport making her return. So we've been seeing vignettes for the last month or so. Blair Davenport hyping up her return. It's been 5 months since Blair battled Miko for the title, and Blair got injured in that match. This is B. Presley for all you guys that didn't know. But big boost for Blair here. She's a big time heel, one of the top heels in the NXT UK. Already in the ring from Scotland is Angel Hayes. Angel almost falls over in their first exchange. A little sloppy there. Then both counter each other, and then Hayes takes the advantage and hits a drop kick for a 1 count, like to a seated opponent, to a seated Blair. Blair fights out of a headlock, but Hayes dodges Blair's attack. Blair then drops down during a cross-body attempt by Hayes, and Blair takes control. Blair then slows the pace way down, picks apart Angel Hayes, and a big shoulder block gets Blair Davenport a 2 count. Blair then transitions from that pin into a chin lock. Now the crowd's rallying behind Hayes. Blair hits a nasty knee strike in the corner. Hayes is in trouble but kicks out. Hayes then dodges and hits a forearm attack and a hip attack in the corner, which is Hayes is getting a lot of offense in this and a pretty, other than that rough start, pretty good action here. Blair tries to battle back, but then gets hit with a sling blade from Hayes. So really surprisingly competitive match here. And as I'm writing that, the announcers know that everyone's going to be thinking that, so they say, well, Hayes has been having more in-ring time these last few months while Blair Davenport's been out injured. So I really like that they said that. Hayes now locks in a guillotine chokehold, but Blair powers out and hits a Falcon Arrow for the 1-2-3. So really good showing here. Good match other than that first exchange, but the rest of the match was solid. And Blair definitely looks like she's ready to challenge Miko again pretty soon. I'm sure she'll have to work her way back up, but Blair gets on the microphone and she simply says, "I'm back, and she's here to crush all of your hope." And that sounded like a good opening to a promo, but that was it, and that was the end of the segment. So it was a good opening to a promo, but since that was it, it just kind of fell flat because it ended so soon. Now we see we're in Sid's office, or Sid's about to go into his office, and I really cracked out and looks like he's been up all week. Kenny Williams is sitting in Sid's desk. Remember, we've been seeing he's been trying to figure out who Tiger Turan is, and we saw him with all like the boards with the mapping and the trying to figure it out. So it looks like he's been staying up all week. But Kenny says, "I finally cracked the code and figured out who Tiger Turan is." And Sid tries to say something about a match next week, but Tiger Turan enters the office, and Kenny gets up right away to squares up to him, ready to fight or whatever. But Kenny says, "Oh, you want a match? Well, guess what's going to happen? I'm going to beat you, knock you out, take your mask off, and reveal to the world that you are Amir Jordan." So then we go to an ad break. So I'm interested to see if that happens. I doubt that exact sequence is going to happen, but pretty good storyline going on here with Kenny Williams and Tiger Turan. After the ad break, we're in the Performance Center, and Shaw Samuels is carrying around the Heritage Trophy, and Noam Dar is next to him. Dar is complaining about why did Shaw bring him here today, and Shaw says, "Well, I've lined up some extra money." Then they walk by a ring where Mark Coffey is training. Mark asks Dar if he's retired now because he ran out of ways to cheat. Noam Dar says, "Well, the rumors are true. I am retired." If you didn't see the Noam Dar segment last week where he was in Sid's office, definitely go look that promo up. It was hilarious. Um, but yeah, Dar says the rumors are true. I am retired, but I didn't need to beat Wolfgang or Joe by cheating. Mark then says, "Well, I bet everything I own that I can take the Heritage Trophy away from you." So Shaw says, "I'll take that bet 100-1 for Mark Coffey to win." And says, "I'll even use my own money." So a bunch of people run over to take him up on that bet. And Noam Dar's in the background looking confused and a little upset. So looks like, and they do confirm it, that match will be in 2 weeks. Back in the arena, Amelia McKenzie makes her way out. And one thing I've noticed in this last month of watching NXT UK, there's been a lot of women's matches, which is great to see. Almost every single 1 hour show has 2 women's matches. So Amelia from England gets big cheers. She's been taken under Miko's teaching wing, so she's the trainee of Miko's her sensei or whatever. Fallon Henley is going to be her opponent. She came over with Briggs and Jensen. They're a threesome in NXT 2.0, and she actually gets announced from being from Michigan, where I'm from. They've never announced that Fallon Henley's from Michigan on NXT 2.0, and I'm thinking it's because she's in this threesome with these 2 Southern guys, and she has like a country girl stable. Well, people don't really think about Michigan as being like a country kind of place, since we are like the total north. Like I can drive 20 minutes south and I hit Canada. But I think that's why. But so it was cool that she was over here in England, and I got to hear her being billed from near where I am. But there is country people. If you guys ever seen Kid Rock, then there is people like that around Detroit and the Michigan area. Anyway, I'm excited about this match, and Amelia has the size advantage, but they lock up at the beginning, and it's a stalemate. So neither woman seems to be stronger than the other. And Amelia takes down Fallon with an amateur slam and works on the arm. Fallon eventually counters into her own armbar. Amelia just quickly gets out of the hold, though. Amelia then goes back to a test of strength, but wins it with technique this time instead. She uses her brains and her technique. Fallon then fights back, and the 2 women shake hands as they see, oh, this is a really even match. They've got an even match here. So the crowd's liking that. They cheer as well. Fallon goes for the leg, but Amelia counters. They both reverse pins for a while, so both had a couple roll ups and stuff, and we're still even. So they get up and square up again. The crowd's cheering. Nigel says, "Well, we haven't really seen either women show killer instinct yet." And then the other announcer says, "Well, that brings up the question is if Amelia even has the killer instinct inside of her." And then they say, "Well, we know Blair Davenport does." So definitely setting up something, and this happens immediately in the match, so you'll see what I mean. But also, they kind of mentioned that Blair Davenport's going to have to get through Amelia before she gets to Miko at a point. So that's going to be a big match in the future. Um, Fallon blocks a hip toss and the two hip tosses of her own. Then Amelia hits a European uppercut to take back control. Amelia now is showing some nice aggression with some vicious strikes to Fallon. So right after the announcers talk about that, Amelia goes into so the story here is, oh, does Amelia have aggression and the killer instinct? Well, yes, she does. They answer it like immediately. So that's pretty cool. Even though it's like super telegraphed, sometimes you got to spell out the story for some of the people in the crowd. Anyway, um, Fallon kicks out at 2 after a nice looking neck breaker, spinning neck breaker. Amelia then locks in the chin lock, and the crowd rallies behind Fallon. Fallon then gets out and tries another roll up, but eats a knee to the face from Amelia, still showing aggression. Amelia has a look of determination now and locks in the $1 million dream, the submission hold, and the crowd rallies behind Fallon again, but Fallon can't get out. But eventually, Fallon, after a while, breaks free, and the two exchange strikes. So, really good match here. Fallon slaps Amelia down after to win the exchange, and hits an elbow and a hair takedown for a 2 count. The crowd rallies behind Amelia now, so the crowd is rallied behind both women. And Amelia tries to hit, and not tries, but does hit a lariat and a back suplex, but Fallon's able to kick out at 2. Now the crowd is rallying behind both women and just rallying in general and clapping and cheering on. They're really loving this match. Fallon blocks a suplex, but Amelia elbows out of it, and then out of a Fallon suplex. So each blocks a suplex here. Fallon tweaks her knee now when she goes to do like a springboard dive off the rope or something like that. Maybe just a she was trying to evade a move, but she tweaks her knee. Fallon does. Amelia immediately spears the knee, like does a spear dive to the knee and attacks the knee viciously here. The crowd does not like the aggression here. They boo that. And Fallon gets a roll up among all the knee attacks and gets the 1, 2, 3. So Fallon getting her knee all kinds of attacked here. Amelia just kind of almost went into bloodlust to the point where the crowd booed. So I guess that's the story is now that Amelia knows that she does have the killer instinct, she needs to learn how to control it. So pretty good story here. Amelia did not learn how to, in this match, she is going to learn that she didn't control her aggression, and Fallon was able to just find an opening for a pinfall. So Amelia's looking frustrated in the background. Probably by far the best match I've ever seen on a Fallon Henley. I said the exact same thing last week about the Briggs and Jensen match. And the reason, and this is exactly why we're sending some of the 2.0 people over to the UK. Over on NXT 2.0, they get like 3-4 minute matches where a lot of it's story based. So for Fallon to come over here, this match was probably close to 10 minutes, maybe only 7 or 8, but still it was double the length of the kind of stuff she does over here in 2.0. So great stuff overall. I really, really love this match. And again, I love that they consistently putting 2 women's matches and 2 men's matches. We might have sometimes it's only 3, so I think maybe only 3 tonight because the next match is pretty long. But I really like what they got going on in the women's division over here on NXT UK. And again, I would love to see more 2.0 people come over because every time the 2.0 people come over, they have like the best match of their NXT career over here in UK where they can have that actually have time to wrestle. So great, great stuff. Now we see it's earlier in the week in the back of the performance center or whatever the training center. Oliver Carter, who had just lost his tag team titles, and his partner said that he has to go away while he heals. So Oliver Carter's just chilling in the lounge by himself, like the cafeteria or whatever. And then all 3 of Di Familia walk up behind him. They're acting all friendly, but just like a group of jocks looking to pick on the nerds in like a 1980s movie. They're like here to cause trouble. Tailman tells Oliver that, oh, this is just like when you debuted. You're all alone. You need a family. And Dempsey says it's dangerous out there. So basically, they tell Oliver to join them and take some time to think about it, and then they leave. So I didn't expect that, and I don't expect Oliver to take them up on that offer, which means we're probably looking at Oliver Carter taking some 3-on-1 beatdowns from Di Familia, maybe for a couple weeks in a row until somebody comes and helps him. And I'm guessing maybe it'll be one of the other two tag teams from that four-way match, or maybe Briggs and Jensen if they're still there, because Fallon was here this week. So I think we get maybe 2 more weeks where Briggs and Jensen might be there. You know, it'd be interesting is if they had if they already lost the titles back on this excursion, because I think, like I just said, I think there's 2 more episodes of these tapings where Briggs and Jensen were there. It'll be really interesting if Briggs and Jensen end up losing the titles, but over on NXT UK where it's a live show, maybe they defend the titles next week against Pretty Deadly, retain, and then they lose them back, even though in real life they had already lost them back, but it's not on air yet. That's something that could happen, and that would be cool. But we'll just have to wait and see. I don't like to look for spoilers, so I don't even really look up. I never type in NXT UK on anything because there's so many spoilers out there potentially. So anyway, I'm looking forward to see what happens with that Oliver Carter storyline. Definitely good that they're not just gonna take him off TV and stuff. Um, he needs to hook up with Wes Lee, who also lost his tag partner. That'd be maybe send Wes Lee over to an excursion on NXT UK for a little bit. The former 2-time NXT tag title winner and 1-time Dusty Rhodes Classic winner with MSK. So maybe that's something they could do. We'll have to wait and see. And anyway, we go to ad break, and when we come back, it's something that happened to me earlier because I spent a lot of time on Twitter, and so when we come back from ad break, it just all flashed to me. Oh, this is why this happened, and um, earlier, like a tweet that I replied to earlier now makes way more sense because Saray this morning had tweeted that she had transformed. She was transforming a little bit too much because Saray's gimmick is she's like uses her magical necklace to go from a schoolgirl or like street clothes with black hair and pigtails into this red, pink, and gray haired uh warrior of the sun type gimmick. So it's like she transfers into this meek and shy, like um just regular person, civilian, into this like superhero type um great wrestler or whatever you want to say it. So Saray was like, it was a picture of her in like just her normal everyday street clothes, and obviously when she's going around in like real life, she has her red, pink, and gray hair that she wrestles in, and then the rest is just a wig. So this was a picture of her just in her everyday life, and she with the caption being like, oh, I was transforming a little too much and now I'm having a little trouble controlling it, and like here's the picture was showing like exemplifying that she had like she was in the Warrior of the Sun but not in the wrestling ring. So I all I did was I tweeted a reply that said, oh, I see you're keeping kayfabe alive and well, Saray. And then here we are just a few hours later on NXT UK. Saray is training in the performance center of NXT UK, and she's not wearing her black wig. So it was Saray keeping kayfabe alive so well that she wanted to explain why she didn't have the black wig in a segment that was recorded like a couple of weeks ago, but set to air today. So shout out Saray for keeping kayfabe alive and explaining why she was in this segment with not black hair, and I love that. So anyway, Saray is she's training. She's about to lift some more weights or whatever. She's all sweaty and like I said, not in the black hair. It's the red, pink, and gray hair. And the mysterious voice, the woman behind the camera that asks questions, asks Saray like, "Oh, how was last week?" And Saray like super cutely answers like, "Oh yeah, it was super fun and I won and all this, and Saray's all super excited, but she gets interrupted by Zia Brookside and Eliza Alexander. So Zia says, "Oh, how adorable! She won her first match, and now she's training all by herself." So now Saray's expression has gone from happy to serious, which I'm ready to fight on Saray's behalf here. That this is tugging at my heartstrings. Uh, but Saray does have some experience dealing with these kind of women. She's dealt with Tiffany Stratton over on NXT 2.0. So we'll see where this goes. Um, Eliza says, "Well, if you're sticking around for more than a little bit," and before she can say anything else, she's interrupted by Miko, who has Amelia behind her. Miko tells them, "You guys talk too much, and if you want to step in the ring with me and Saray, we will teach you a lesson." So Zia and Eliza quickly walk away, but Zia says, like, "Oh, teach us a lesson." She doesn't get to teach us a lesson, so that was pretty funny from her. And that is confirmed as we have two matches confirmed for next week, and that is one of them. The other one being Kenny Williams versus Tiger Turan. So it will be Saray and Miko versus Brookside and Alexandra, and that should be good. So back in the arena now, Shaw Samuels is on his way out. He's got Noam Dar with him. This time it's Noam Dar in the bookie outfit, and Noam goes over to the crowd, tries to get them to take some bets, but they all tell him to F off, basically. Wolfgang's out by himself. No coffees, no Damon Kemp, who he's been hanging out with recently. Wolfgang stares down Noam Dar on his way to the ring. Shaw says, "Don't worry about him, worry about me." So Nigel brings up the good point that or not a good point, but a funny point that Shaw told Nigel that he's been having nightmares about Wolfgang because whenever his son watches Shrek. So just a good burn on Wolfgang being like an ogre or whatever. That was funny. Then this is where we're told it'll be Mark Coffey versus Noam Dar for the Heritage Trophy in 2 weeks. And the announcers bring up that, well, how's Samuel's going to pay off all those 100-1 bets if it doesn't go his way? So that should be a pretty funny story if that happens. And it probably will. I could see that happening. So Wolfgang starts strong, and the crowd's really in the Wolfgang. Noam Dar's sipping from his flask ringside without much of a care in the world. Wolfgang works over the arm of Samuels, and Samuels fights back, but Wolfgang just shoves him right down. Much stronger, much bigger Wolfgang here. Wolfgang then goes for the spear, but Samuels is able to dodge it. This is the big moment in the match because Wolfgang then goes crashing into the corner, maybe even the ring post, and has now injured his arm. So Noam Dar hilariously puts up the X symbol, like stop the match. He's injured, kind of thing. But that was funny. Samuels takes over and hits some decent offense while working over the crowd. So good job by Samuels to make sure the crowd's still interacting with everything. The crowd then chants, "You're a bum," which was great. And Wolfgang then gets fired up, but he gets fired up when Dar paint brushes him with his booking sheet from the outside. So kind of interfering, but it wasn't going to cause pain. It was only making Wolfgang mad. So that was a good storyline point. Samuels Wolfgang gets fired up, but Samuels is able to counter it and then hits a huge lariat for a 2 count. So Samuels stays in control. Wolfgang's in trouble now, and he's really holding his arm, selling that his arm's hurting him. Samuel stays on the attack and hits a middle rope elbow drop for a 2 count. The crowd's really rallying behind Wolfgang now. They love that man. Wolfgang blocks a move and then hits a big running senton to kind of get it back in his um, favor, but Samuels again gets back in charge and locks in a submission on the arm. Again, kind of looking like the $1 Million Dream that we saw earlier. Were they teaching $1 Million Dreams over there? So good match again. Some good matches tonight, and seemingly almost every week you're guaranteed some good wrestling, which is the exact opposite of NXT 2.0, by the way. But they still have a good storylines over here too, where NXT 2.0 is all about the storylines. Wolfgang powers out, but his attack is stopped by his hurt arm out of that submission that he was locked in. So Wolfgang battles through it and goes to the top, where then Noam Dar distracts Wolfgang. Wolfgang still continues to leap off the top rope, but right into a spine buster by Samuels, and somehow Wolfgang kicks out. I thought that might have been it. Samuels then goes to end it, but then eats a spear instead. But Wolfgang's too hurt after the spear, holding his arm to make the cover. Samuels is able to roll to the apron, but Wolfgang goes over and grabs him. They both end up on the turnbuckle on the top rope, middle rope deal now. Um, but Samuels is able to get an arm bar on, so Wolfgang has to let go of that. Samuels then dives off the top rope to Wolfgang, but Wolfgang gets his knees up to block it. Wolfgang does some great one-armed offense now by really selling the arm. Dar tries to interfere, but he eats a big boot. And Wolfgang ends up on the apron and hits the buckshot. The only way I can describe it, if you know what the buckshot lariat is, a buckshot spear where he flips over the top rope with his arms and hits the spear for the 1, 2, 3. And good match overall, but I have a little bit of problem with that ending. I don't know why anybody didn't think that this big guy, this 300-pound guy that has been selling his arm all freaking match, including seconds before this move was done, why is he hitting a version of his finisher that involves him using his arm with to support all his body weight to go flipping over the top rope and hitting a spear? So that's just ridiculous. Really, that kind of did, like, if that match was like a 3.5 star, it brings it all the way down to a 2.5, because that's egregious. That's an egregious ending right there. The more I think about it, because you just spent the entire match telling us how much your arm hurt you, and then you do a flashy version of your finisher that involves you lifting all of your weight on your bad arm. So I get, like, that stuff happens sometimes in wrestling, but it really happens way too much nowadays that once it's time for them to hit their offense, they just completely stop selling things. Where that, like, didn't happen as much back in the day. Like, anyway, good match overall. I'm not gonna just say it was a bad match, but the ending left a bad taste in my mouth. Now we're in the back and getting ready to come out as Trent Seven. His outfit is super heel. He's got like super small, tight white shorts, a black t-shirt, and the sports coat didn't look like it was more beige than white, so it didn't match his shorts, and he's wearing glasses. So just a total heel looking outfit here. Not quite as good as Christian's James Bond villain outfits he's been wearing on Dynamite these last 2 weeks, but pretty heel here. We go to an ad break and we're told those are the two matches confirmed for next week: Kenny Williams versus Tiger Turan, and Eliza and Zia versus Miko and Saray. So looking forward to that. Trent Seven's now out, the huge booze. And remember, he took out his longtime Mustache Mountain and British Strong Style partner, Tyler Bate, just a few weeks ago. Long story short was that Trent's getting old. Trent's like 15 years older than Tyler. Trent was feeling like if they ever lost the titles, that his time in NXT might be over with. But now he's coming out with a whole different story, and that's the whole story here. But the story before he turned heel was basically, it looked like he didn't want to lose the title and become irrelevant and be a 40-year-old in developmental that is probably going to get fired. So he never wanted to lose the title, started cheating a little bit so that they could keep the title. Eventually, Tyler Bate had enough, and that caused them to lose the title. So that was the long story short. But here's Trent out to tell us why he did it. So we all really know why he did it, because he's been explaining it for months. He's been explaining the fact that he didn't want to get fired because he's old, and I have to have these titles because it makes me relevant and stuff like that. But we're getting a different story. Of course, he doesn't want to admit that now. So this is Trent Seven's side of the story, as we're gonna get now. And we see a little bit of he does do the slow roll into the ring, but kind of shrugs his shoulders in the middle of it. And he's getting huge boos. Trent soaking up the pleased with himself, basically soaking it up. We see a recap of Trent turning on Tyler Bate, and then Trent comes when he come back. Trent says, "Thank you, thank you, I appreciate it." And then I heard people asking, "Why Trent? Why?" So I will use visual aids, and then we see on the screen it's the low blow that Trent Seven hit on Tyler Bate 2 weeks ago. Trent then says, "Well, that's just like the best low blow ever. It's a work of art. Look at the angle on that." But this also represents a turning point, he says. And then he goes, "It's an important moment in British sports. This is the moment Trent Seven saved the industry, because this place was dead. This studio was a ghost town. But look at you. You're all back because Trent Seven is on top. I like to be the center of attention, and we were the center of attention as British Strong Style and Mustache Mountain. But it's not me that changed. It was Tyler Bate. Tyler lost his nerve. He lost his his fighting. I forget the word he used, but I write it down later. But he lost his nerve and his will to win is gone. That's what it was. So Tyler then says that he knows, Trent says he knows Tyler's not going to ever come back and fight him. And he won't come back because he's lost his fighting spirit. That's what I was looking for. He is a weak little boy. And then now yelling, he says, I am NXT. I am British Strong Style. I am Mustache Mountain. And he drops the mic, leaves the ring. Trent Seven's music plays. And he goes and talks trash with some of the people in the crowd. The person in the very corner on the entrance ramp of the crowd really is giving it to Trent Seven, to the point where this fan then jumps over the barricade, and security immediately rushes and holds him while this fan, quote unquote fan, is being held. Trent Seven then kicks him in the yam bags, a little yam bag Yahtzee. The crowd really super boos this. Security and more security and officials run out. Of course, don't worry, this wasn't a real fan, but great optics here with Trent Seven attacking fans and fans jumping the barrier. This is what used to happen back in the day in the 60s and 70s and 80s, where heels would get the crowd so riled up to the point where they would legitimately leap the barrier and have like switchblades in their boots and try and stab people. Like Jim Cornette would try and get stabbed all the time because he was a little prick heel manager that people at least like, oh, he's got a couple big muscle guys over here, but we can at least beat Jim Cornette. That's how it used to be. So playing off of that, really good stuff, really good optics. Of course, it's never going to be like that ever again in wrestling, but um, probably for the better. But man, if I could have just been alive and just experienced all that, that would have been nuts. I would have loved to be like a heel manager, having the fight for my life. But anyway, that was great. Security grabbed the fan. Trent kicked him in the balls, and that's how the show ends. So really good stuff. Again, this whole last month of NXT UK has been amazing. They have great matches, unlike NXT 2.0, which I love NXT 2.0, but they're not all about great matches. NXT UK is definitely more about great matches. That's like 3 weeks in a row where NXT 2.0 guys have had their best match I've ever seen them have, and that's because they were over here on NXT UK. And like I've been saying all episode, really love what they got going on with the women's division. They look like they're really concentrating on the women's division, and with Miko as the star, and having two matches every, like we had two women's matches tonight and one men's match, and then finished with a men's talking segment. But um, really great stuff. Love that Saray's here, and love seeing all the people. I love seeing the 2.0 characters outside of that environment where they're kind of can act a little more free and not so, what's the word, like regimented, or like they are in 2.0. So great stuff overall. I'm going to get going. I'll be back in probably 3 hours with the Impact review. Impact also has a special event against all odds tomorrow night, and I'll be here tomorrow night. I'm packed. So every Friday I do the Wonderful Wrestling Podcast, the flagship podcast, where we kind of just go over the week that was, look at the week ahead, and go over any news and notes that I didn't get to during these reviews. I like to split all my reviews into separate videos so that people can go and cherry pick which ones they want to find. So tomorrow I've got not only the flagship, but SmackDown, NXT Level Up, Rampage, and that Against All Odds. And then the next night, Saturday, will be Money in the Bank. So we got a lot to look forward to, and I'll be sure I'll probably be loving it all, and hope to see you guys here. So enjoy your weekend, and I'll talk to you again real soon. Thanks for joining, and peace.